welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you're new. My name is Deborah. So today we are doing episode 9, I believe, called Still Married, being a mother, a wife, a career woman, and of course a woman of faith. And today I have my sisters here to do this video. So without further ado, we're gonna get straight into it. Is there anything right now you feel like, oh, you know, I used to do this when I was single, I would love to do that now that I'm married?
When you get married, it doesn't take away from you as an individual. And so outside of being self-aware, it's important that you're whole as an individual who's single and as one who's married. Now, of course, as I'm married, I'm not gonna be going out with every male down the block and going to every party. However, there are activities that I can still do as an individual woman who's married that I was doing while I was single as well.
When you were single, you didn't have to let nobody know. Like, you could just get up and go. Like, there's nobody, you know, part of that. Like, even with purchases and stuff like that. You know, if you share an account, like, okay, you can't hide certain bags, stuff like that, certain purchases. So I'm thinking of it in that way. Like, what are some things that you did when you were single that you wish that you could still do?
Well, get my bundles, because now
I agree, and it's an adjustment. You have to include that person. You have to make them aware, but you still have to be respectful and inform your partner, hey, this is what we're doing. Even we share account, if spending or being done. But when you single free, you know, you do as you please. You go out as you please. So it is a big adjustment. I lived a single life for so long, and I didn't really like that part. I like to get up and go.
Yeah.
Because it's unintentional sometimes. It's not like I don't mean to tell you. It's like nothing to disrespect you. It's just that's how I've been doing it. So it's like, oh, I'm there. I'm like, oh, snap, I forgot to let my husband know I'm out.
to retrain your brain.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
I think even with like making decisions, like sometimes you feel like your decision is like the best, right? And like, and then the idea of, okay, the husband being the head and like submission and stuff, and like, you knowing, you just gotta listen to me. Like, although we do have our conversations where I do input my views or whatever, at the end of the day, I know I have to kind of like sit back and trust that God is going to use him to make the right decision. So that's another adjustment, because like, I feel like I know a lot, you know, and sometimes I know better than you.
That's valid, because I'm like,
I know better than you, babe. Like,
sorry, not sorry.
so like having to relinquish my will.
yes.
To, you know what I mean? To in being right.
Yeah.
So that's really it.
But being an alpha female, if that makes sense. Like my person, I am an alpha female. And my husband is very subtle. However, when he speaks, you know. Reel that in. And so learning to submit to that, even like how you said, where I know you're a little off, but I'm going to let you rock this time out of respect, because I'm going to submit to your authority, for lack of better terms. That was a big adjustment for me. And coming from a home where my dad wasn't around, so I watched my mom be the strong male and female. So that was a shift for me as well. And even now, like, I've been married 10 years. I think what I've mastered 10 years ago is very different than what I've mastered now. Whereas having certain conversations with him before and having certain conversations with certain topics now, that's still an adjustment. Like, what bothered me 10 years ago and what bothers me now is two different things. So, and still being okay with him being in charge. Yeah, I know better, but
One of those I want the answer right there, right now. And so he'd be like, no, I need to process this, or this is not going to happen. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I already processed in my mind, it makes sense, and you're telling me we're not doing this? No, it's called submissive. Like, I had to listen to him. He makes sense. This is what God called him to be. And sometimes you'd be like, babe, I'm sorry, you were right. I should have listened to you. We should have went that way. I'd be like, yeah, I know. But it's hard.
I think that certain things that I had to remove was that alpha female mentality, because I definitely had it. I feel like I still do, to be honest. I don't think it ever fully goes away.
It's dormant.
It's more like, I don't know if we call it dormant. I just think that, like I said, for me, maybe it's my truth, but like self-awareness is key for me. Like knowing what triggers me to get into that type of mentality. So that's one thing I feel as if I kind of had to remove. One thing I felt like I needed to implement more was self-care, because when you're a mom and you're a wife and you have all these roles and then you have a career, okay? So I'm trying to climb the career ladder. I'm trying to be the best wife I can be. I'm trying to be the best mother I can be. I'm in a whole new location. I'm a homeowner now. There's so many levels of things that we add that sometimes I need a balance. I need something that's just me. So implementing self-care as mandatory.
Do you see in your parenting, or you as a wife, do you guys see your mother or maybe your father, whichever parent, do you guys see yourselves like your parents?
I was just talking about certain like parenting styles, or like being emotionally in tune. Like I feel like with our parents and our culture, they've been like on survival like all the time. Till even now they're good, but they're still on survival mode. And I feel like as kids of parents of immigrants or first generation, it's kind of hard. So it's like you pick up certain things, you think it's okay, then you get married, and then you start to direct it into your marriage or upon your children, and you sit back and you're like, well, this is the very thing I used to dislike that when my parents did, and now I'm projecting it on my husband, or I'm projecting it on my child. So this is something like where self-awareness, or even reflecting, you need to sit here and figure out, okay, when you were a child, you did not like this behavior. You did not like to be talked this way. We already know why we're doing it, because it was our normal. Right. So now that it's become our normal, it's subconsciously embedded in us already. And now, like they said, we have to reprogram ourselves. Yep. Okay, you can't talk to your husband like that because mommy used to talk to her husband like that. Or if your mom was on top of you and controlling and this, you can't do that to your kid. You need to be emotionally in tune. You need to learn how to apologize, because some people really don't. They do something and they're like, okay, I'm gonna go bake a cake now, that's my apology. No, you need to come back and say, I'm sorry for what I did, and where can we go from there? So there's a lot of learned behaviors that I've learned subconsciously, internalize it.
Give us an example, because there's some people that might need an example. Like, what do you
Really
feel like?
trying to get you. I mean, like, hey, I hear you. I agree. I mean, I would like to hear an example.
I get mad easily, so I'll get something will happen, I'm tired, or something happens, or it's happened numerous times, and then I'll start shouting and screaming and just going off on a tangent, and he's looking at me like, okay. And he goes back to doing whatever he was doing. So now I have to learn to like.
Even more upset.
Why
aren't you reacting?
Right. Oh, you're just going, ignore me now.
Right. So I have to go wheel myself in and just like, you know what? I'm not gonna say nothing. And once I am calmed down, I'm gonna come to him and say, babe, what you did, I really did not appreciate what you did. We need to sit down and talk about this and try to talk how we can go around fixing it. Like, so that's me, because I'll get angry and I'll just lash. So I have to like wheel myself and not to go and start screaming and going on a talking tangent, because then like you just said, for him, he's just gonna look at me and say,
He's blocked.
and he's
That's the worst
like
part.
this his mechanism, he'll tune me out and stuff like that.
In a typical Haitian household, you're not allowed to really be expressive, because it's identified as disrespect, talking back. You know what I mean? Like, so you're left with holding everything in, feeling like you're wrong for having emotions and for feeling. That's the word, feeling. And so one thing that my husband and I have discussed, even with our son, is being intentional about letting him express himself. Yes. Because before it becomes a bigger trigger in another situation, I want you to say, Mommy, so angry, I am mad. And it'll encourage a conversation between myself and my son, or between him and his father, so that we can know, okay, what's wrong? And it might be something that we're doing that we think is normal, and our child is not processing it as normal. And so being okay with them expressing how they feel, and you being okay with hearing that what you've been doing is inappropriate for them. So that has been a challenge, because I'm grown and I pay the bills and I buy food for the refrigerator, but that doesn't negate the fact that you as a child have a voice. So unlearning the fact that, no, you don't have to hold how you feel in. Say how you feel, and let's work on it from there. So as long as it's not disrespectful. But if it is disrespectful, I have to know why, because you're not going to can't be disrespectful just because I must have triggered something for you to come to me disrespectfully. So what's the reason for you being, come on, let's talk about this, and then we'll take it from there. But I'm not going to just automatically be upset that you're coming to me disrespectful because I've clearly done something that has gotten you to that point.
I agree.
It's amazing because like this is something that my oldest daughter is 6, so this is something that I literally just started implementing like probably like a month and a half ago. Like I've just noticed that like I'm like her, and then I'll come later to her and I'm like, so sorry that mommy did that, and I'm like, that's not good. So now I want her to have a voice because I've noticed that when something is off or something is wrong with her, like she'll tell me, but then she'll tell me like way later because she's scared of how I'm going to react. So now I'm like, if I scream or if I say something, if I do something, please come to me, let me know, mommy, I'm sad, mommy, I did not like the way you did this. That's what I'm trying to do with her now. So if that happens, like you said, we can catch the problem earlier on and not something when it's like massive.
They usually don't talk about how to keep the romance in the marriage. They want everybody to get married, but they're not telling you how to stay married. So you guys are still married, thank God. How do you keep the romance alive? 10 years, 16 years, like how?
Like I honestly feel like,
and please leave that.
For real.
Yeah,
we all look at you. No, honestly, you gotta communicate that. Because like even especially when kids come into the picture,
You mean the blockers?
The blockers.
Oh yeah. Definitely.
Like they change everything. They change everything. And as committed you guys were to your romance, it shifts. It shifts completely. And so our word is intentionality. We are intentional about everything. Like you are going to even if we gotta sneak away to get us time. It's a little inappropriate sometimes because like, how are you doing that? Your daughter's in the bed. You know what I mean? Like, I've mastered the. He was there first.
Yeah.
I was here first before my children were. I love my kids to death, but like you can't give me what my husband can give me. And so I will create time for you, but I have to create time for him. And so going back to the question before, I'm like my dad. I'm more of like my dad than I'm like my mom. My mom was like, she's like hood. My dad was more of the douceur type of, even with the kids and gathering the family together and talking or whatever. But we explained to our kids like mommy and daddy needs their time. When we're in the bedroom, we don't tell what we say we're worshiping, we're praying. But like,
if you're right, it is worship. Lift your hands.
Like if the door is locked, don't come knocking. We're busy. And they're old enough right now to understand that and to take care of the baby for us.
Yes.
But I think it's so important. Like you need that. It keeps you engaged. It keeps you invested and like fresh.
And find out different ways where you can keep it fresh. Like what worked 16 years ago doesn't work now. And so like you said, being intentional and just having conversations like with your spouse, like I didn't like this kiss that way. Nope, my leg was flipped the other way. Maybe we need to try it this way again. Because if I can't tell you how to satisfy me, then there's a disconnect. It's okay to look, I gotta be careful with this. It's okay to get outside sources if you need to help figure out different ways where you can keep your marriage spicy. Some people are against.
What do you mean?
Some people are against. Some people are, I have taken my husband to sex museums before. We have seen sex therapists before. We have seen.
They have that?
Yes. Absolutely.
That's everything.
Yes.
There are lingerie stores that show you how to use like candy fruits for your There's so many different things that the Haitian church doesn't expose you to.
Because they don't know about themselves.
They don't know about themselves. Yeah. And so sex doesn't just have to be a missionary position.
It surely don't.
No, flip me over. Flip me over. Lift the leg up. Yeah. And let's have that conversation to know what works. And maybe there's something that I'm doing that he doesn't like. I can't know that until he communicates it with you. You don't like the chocolate syrup? We're gonna get the whipped cream instead. Like what? I have to know. Yeah. So outside of just being intentional, you don't want it to be so routine,
boring,
that we're just every Tuesday at 5 o'clock, let's just lay down, have sex, and then we're leaving. How can we How can we make it kick? How can we make it in a way that I want to come back every Tuesday, where it's not like this is just another job, if that makes sense.
I mean, since you did say every Tuesday, I gotta ask. Do you schedule say?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
There came a point with my husband's schedule. My husband is doing 16.
That it's not good to.
No, I think it depends on the couple.
It depends on the couple.
It's not good to what?
My husband works 20 hours sometimes, and I don't see him. So it got to a point, I'll never forget, maybe about 5 years ago, I forgot what we were doing, and I said to him, when's the last time you touched me? He said, well, sis, you ain't touched me either. I said, get the calendar. We're going to have to open this up. It's been a month. Oh no, we got to figure this out because our schedules, like you said, you climbing the charts in your career. He's climbing the charts, and it's not your fault. Like it's not like you're intentionally finding ways to not be with your partner. It's just life happens, and that was before kids. Let alone when the kids actually come in. So sometimes you have to schedule it. Sometimes date nights have to be. We're leaving. We're gonna do an overnight trip. We're gonna come back and. We just gonna figure it out. That's the schedule. We scheduled the spa weekend a couple of weekends back. We're gonna spend 12 hours away, flip me over, and we'll be back to do everything else. But you have to schedule it.
For some couple, I feel like if you don't schedule, you're not getting none at all.
No,
because the time difference.
That too,
the time. I work nights. My husband worked during the day. The thing that used to help at the beginning was that we have the hotel tonight app. When we go out, let's say if we go to an event. No fatigue. We set up babysitting. We're like, oh, hotel tonight, good price. Like, let's just go somewhere and stay over. And it's such a refresher. You get to relax, So I really enjoyed that part in terms of the romance, just getting away. Because even the home setting sometimes is like, again.
You see the laundry.
Yeah.
You see this.
Dishes.
Okay. And you get distracted. When it's time to get in, let me clean here, let me fix this, let me pack my laundry. No.
By the time you done do all that,
So definitely that's one thing that I wish to get back to. That really was nice at the beginning.
And even with different schedules, sometimes you just gonna have to take a day off. I will call out and listen. I do. There are sick days. There's PTO for a reason. And they will replace you, but your marriage, it needs your support and your presence. And so, if that means I got to take a day off, put me on the calendar.
I'm big at calling out.
You got to figure out what's priority.
Right.
Yes. Beginning, it was kind of like, it wasn't the greatest, only because I was still dealing with like body figure. I didn't feel like as sexy as in my younger days, and I'm like, I put on a little weight, I was scared, and I'm like, even when he would touch me and I felt trigger, especially like for people that experienced like trauma sexually before, and then when you married and your partner touching you, it sometimes triggers that. It brings back the memory. So that was something we struggled in the beginning in our marriage, and learning like at times he felt like it was him, like 'cause at that time I didn't reveal that like I was molested as a young child, like I didn't reveal that to him. So him trying to have fun in our marriage life, and I kept like shutting him down, pushing him, and I wasn't really just being there. Yeah, he kept saying like, "Do you not love me?" Because men whenever they don't feel like you're not touching them, you're not showing. The first thing they said, "Oh, you must not love me," and I'm like, "It's not you." But I didn't know how to say it. I didn't know how to speak. Once again, growing up from my background, you don't talk. Whatever happened, you move on. So there was no closure. There was no way how to deal with that trauma. And here I am in the marriage, it triggered that trauma. And that was something that was like a big issue in our marriage, where my husband would complain about it. So we sat down with Chalk, and I like baby step until I was able to feel comfortable. Now, girl, listen, we get it on.
For me, I feel like it was a back and forth. In the beginning, it was just like, oh, this is nice and this is new. And then it went like, oh my gosh, like what's going on? And then boom, kids happen. So then you gotta adjust yourself all over again.
What do you mean? What's going on?
Yeah. What's going on?
What do you mean? What do you
mean? It became what?
It became what?
Like boring.
Oh,
like, routine. I should say boring.
Right. Okay.
I mean that. I got you, Moses.
Yeah, no, it was happening because And then this is another thing we need to talk about. Like, each person in the couple has different sex drive. My husband has a greater sex drive than I do. So, of course, it was happening because I know I'm married. Not to say, I'm pushing him out there to go do whatever, but at the same time, we're married. So, we have, I don't like to use responsibility or obligation because that sounds kind of weird.
But we do.
It is.
But at the same time, he's my husband and he has needs and I have needs. And if his needs is high, we have to meet somewhere to fix that. 100%. So, like, for me, it was just, in the beginning, he's like, oh, yeah. And then kids happening, I was in school, and then stress, and then there's also things about birth control. So all of these things kind of in the routine, all that kind of changed like different things dynamic in my sex, in our sex life.
I think romance is not only sex, right? It's not only just
intimacy. The word is intimacy.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. So many other things that we can do that will just really feed me.
Yes.
Right? So,
Yes.
like just cuddling or just having a real conversation.
Deep. Oh my goodness.
Yo, is that weird that one time, like, my husband had
you caught an orgasm. Let's tell me that happened. I need the secret. What was the topic?
Okay, I know it's a weird thing. Like, there was like a particular like certain time where like the best moments I've had with my husband involved no sex. Like, we were so vulnerable. It's like, wow, that's what I was looking for. Like, to open up and stuff like that. Like, both of us, like, you give yourself and I give myself,
100%.
and there was no sex, and that was like so fulfilling.
Yeah.
Makes you feel connected, like in a way that you don't get. I mean, when you think about it, you go through life, it's a whole bunch of small talk, it's a whole bunch of responsibilities, it's a whole bunch of so much. And most of the time, your representative shows up. Okay? You're not even having a deep conversation with majority of people in your life, if you really think about it. So when you have that connection and it's with your husband, I mean,
so
like, that's the best feeling in the world. You'd be like, that's why I chose you.
There's gonna be a time, not to sound all taboo about it, where it's just not gonna work.
It's not gonna
Yes.
It's just not
And
going
that's
to
what's gonna
work.
hold you.
God forbid, but
God forbid.
God forbid.
But if you don't have that intimacy as like foundation in your relationship, then when you can't have sex, you have nothing. Right? So it's
What
so
do you hold
important.
on to?
Yeah.
if you are married, if you are a wife, and you are not having orgasms, something is wrong.
Praise the Lord. Say that one more time. One more time. Say that one more
And
time.
I'm very passionate about this.
Say that one more time.
Why wouldn't you be?
Because some people don't know how.
Some people
Yeah.
don't
Some
know
people don't,
how.
and some people don't know that they should.
Yeah.
Like,
Because they always think only
Some
the
people
men should
automatically
be the only one.
And some people also think once you hit it, that's automatically an orgasm.
No.
No.
Most women
Once you have sex, like that's fulfilling.
No.
But it doesn't happen every time.
No, it doesn't.
It can.
if you don't know how you can catch that, you have to communicate it to him. You know, and so like and that's what I say. Like, some people really just don't know.
I agree. That's true.
But I'm here to what's the public service
Debunk the
announcement?
myth.
This is
Hello.
a PSA.
This is a PSA. If you are married, okay, and you are not having orgasms, something is
issue.
wrong. Call me. Let's talk.
We
No, that's important.
I think there like really needs to be like a class on it.
Yes.
That's
This is all the
essential.
stuff we have to learn in marriage. If you didn't have conversation with your girls, or you didn't notice, people really don't.
And they don't talk about that.
And then we
they
don't talk
don't.
They
about
just
it.
want you to get married and figure it
But I
out.
think we have to extend some grace to like the church, right?
We
And, like
do.
because I think they just don't know either.
Nah, the world knows.
There's
It's
some
the church,
things.
yeah.
There's some things that they just and they gave us what they had. You know what I'm saying? And so like when you know better,
You do better.
Hello.
Okay.
When is like the right time, I guess, to have these conversations?
With who?
With you and if
Your
you guys,
partner?
Yeah.
What do you mean? Wait.
you better have before you get married.
You need to have that before you get married. Don't get married.
But here's the thing, again, even if you get married, what fulfilled you when you first got married?
different.
It's not
Just like the whole
Change.
concept of if you're a virgin, you can't compare it because you've never had sex before. So I was married and I was a virgin. And so the myth that was given to me was, well, since you've never had sex before, there's nothing for you to compare to, so you'll automatically be satisfied.
That's not true.
Right.
My wedding night, I told my husband, no, babe, there gotta be more to this. Come on a little hard. This was my wedding night. Like, that's it. No, let's try this one more time. Don't be nervous. because there was a disconnect. You know when you go to a restaurant when the food just doesn't hit the way it's supposed to.
Right.
Tell me no, you can't compare because it's just automatically. No, y'all can call Samuel Caesar Sr. right now. And he will tell y'all that wedding night. I said, oh, man of God, come on close.